Here's the Modi government launched its tax Brahmastra on Wednesday as they unveiled a revamped version of the GST. What many today are calling the Great Savings Tax. Today, the entire country is celebrating the pre-Diwali announcement with the hope that this could help decrease expenses for the poor and the middle class. However, the announcement soon ended up sparking off a bigger political war of words between the government and opposition. The Prime Minister launched a fierce attack on the Congress party and accused the UPA-era governments of looting the public in the name of tax. He says that even essential food items and medicines were taxed heavily by erstwhile governments. Further, he says that this revamped GST comes after the government slashed income tax as well, making this a double dhamaka for the people ahead of Diwali.
इस वर्ष सिर्फ जीएसटी में ही कमी नहीं की गई, इनकम टैक्स में भी बहुत कम किया गया है। 12 लाख रुपए तक की इनकम पर टैक्स को जीरो किया गया है, यानी इनकम में भी बचत और खर्च में भी बचत। अब ये डबल धमाका नहीं है तो क्या है? रोजमर्रा की ऐसी हर चीज पर उस कांग्रेस के जमाने में इतना सारा टैक्स लगता था। हालत ये थी कि कांग्रेस वाले बच्चों की टॉफी पर भी 21% टैक्स लेते थे। ये कभी उस समय अखबार में आपका ध्यान गया होगा कि नहीं वो पता नहीं, मोदी ने किया होता तो बाल नोट लेते।
However, immediately after the reform was announced, the opposition rushed to claim credit for it. While some continue to question it, several Congress leaders say Modi government has implemented what Rahul Gandhi and his party have been saying for years now. The government has hit back at the opposition, saying that they are spreading negativity at a time the entire nation is celebrating these reforms.
2016 से राहुल जी 2 ही स्लैब्स की बात कर रहे हैं। इनको या तो समझने में 9 साल लग जाते हैं या अपने अहंकार को नीचे करके फिर राहुल जी की सलाह मानने में 9 साल लग जाते हैं, मुझे नहीं मालूम। अब हमने अभी एक आवाज कल उठाई है, अब इनके पास 9 साल तो बचे नहीं। अब अगले 8-9 महीने में भी मुझे लगता है, वो भी मैं ज्यादा बोल रहा हूं, 8-9 हफ्ते में ये भी सलाह मान ले राहुल जी की तो अच्छा रहेगा, नहीं तो फिर हम आके कर देंगे, चिंता मत कीजिए।
जीएसटी लाया गया 2017 में, ये तो लाभ ही नहीं पा रहे थे, अब क्या बोल रहे हैं? अब इतना कुछ बोल रहे हैं, ला नहीं पा रहे थे जीएसटी। और जहां तक ये कहना कि राहुल गांधी के कहने पर हुआ है, देखिए भैया, गांधी परिवार के कहने पर तो ये सूर्य चंद्र भी आत जात करते हैं। ये गांधी परिवार ही कह रही तो ब्रह्मांड है, वरना ब्रह्मांड थोड़ी होता। आप बताइए, भारतवर्ष होता क्या अगर गांधी परिवार नहीं होती? ये इनकी मानसिकता है कि सब कुछ इनके कहने पर हो रही है।
Joining us amidst all of this talk of GST reform, it's a big move certainly that has been announced by the central government. Joining us is former Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission, Mr. Madhavdas G. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to us. Let me begin by asking you, while you have argued in the past for a uniform 14% GST slab, can you explain to us why you believe that this model would balance both fiscal needs and fairness better than the current multi-slab system? And would you welcome the move that has been announced yesterday by the government?
Well, let me say that, insofar as the move announced yesterday carried out the Prime Minister's promise of a sort of a Diwali gift, obviously the lowering of rates has been welcomed and will be welcomed by consumers pretty much across the board. But I think if you look at the kind of reforms you need in GST, then you get a somewhat different perspective. Now, I realize that everything can't be done at the same time. The problem with having multiple rates is that a huge incentive to evade the taxation by misclassifying and so on. There's another problem with the 5% rate, which I don't think is widely understood. In the 5% rate, what happens really is that all these people who are paying, who have a final rate of 5%, have to pay input taxes on their inputs. And those taxes are usually at a much higher rate.
But Mr. Ahluwalia, the counter to that is that a lot of essential goods are being taxed at 5% or even 0% as far as yesterday's announcements are concerned. Your model which you are suggesting, even though there are serious concerns that you are raising, this would push up the prices on basics from food to clothing, and this would not just hit the middle class but also the poor people of the country the hardest.
Well, let me make one point. I think it's always tempting to introduce a progressive element in the indirect tax structure. But I think the basic logic of the GST around the world is that you don't try to do progression through the GST. You do that through direct income transfers, you do that through the income tax, you do that through special programs aimed at the poor. But the domestic indirect tax does not have a wide variation. If you're going to have a wide variation, then you might as well have 5%, 7%, 9%, 10%, 12%. So I think that I realize that this is politically very difficult to sell.
We've seen Mr. Rahul Gandhi, for instance, come out and suggest in the past a single slab of 18%. But the point in our country is that a family buying basics, whether it's milk, whether it's soap, so on and so forth, why would they be paying the same rate as somebody who's buying, for instance, luxury appliances or vehicles?
Then you should say that you are not in favor of a GST. I mean, look, I am not saying the fiscal system should ensure justice and should ensure fairness and should be tilted in favor of the poor. Now, the way you do that is by having a progressive income tax, by having a good corporate tax, by having a simple domestic tax, which has a lot of exemptions, 2 major rates, and then 1 sin rate, and you have a lot of direct tax transfers, special programs. The totality of all these are likely to create a fiscal system that is more efficient and more just.
Why do you believe that cess has fundamentally undermined the spirit of GST, the federal spirit of GST, that is? Because you have certain finance ministers who have complained about it outside, but at the end of the day, as the government says, the decision has been taken with unanimity and all states participating have agreed to the final shape that the GST has now taken, or the rates that have now been announced.
No, look, clearly they have all agreed. Some of them have expressed concern. Many of them raised the issue of how are we going to be compensated, and that they understand will be taken up separately. You know, in my view, and I've said this in other programs, there's a problem with the way the current decision making is done, because the decision making in the GST is a closed body. I mean, we don't know, the rest of the public doesn't know what is going forward and what is finally coming out. You know, even in the national budget, the government puts forward a budget, it's discussed, other people comment on it, and based on the comments, the government makes a moderation or modification. Here, we're only seeing the final output. We know that there was a lot of discussion, but we don't know what the different initial positions were. Now, my view would be that it would be a good idea to pose the question that we've got what we've got, and, you know, hopefully it'll do well. But what is it that we want in, say, 3 or 4 years' time? And let's give the GST a position paper done by some experts. Government doesn't have to be committed to it. I mean, the finance ministry could simply say, this is an expert report and let's discuss it. And make it known to the public and let people criticize it. And, you know, those who want to push this idea should also be encouraged to participate in the discussion.
Let's throw this open to our panelists who are now joining us. With us is R.P. Singh, BJP National Spokesperson. Karan Verma, author, is with us. Dr. Fuad Halim, CPIM leader, is also joining us. Advocate Anmol Pawar, AAP National Spokesperson, is with us. But my first question is to Dr. Akashdeep Puni, political analyst. Dr. Akashdeep Puni, while today the Congress says it's too little too late, the BJP is turning it right around and saying, well, then why wasn't it passed when the UPA was in government?
Because the BJP blocked it. They blocked it not once, twice, many a times. Arun Jaitley spoke against it. But today my contention is this particular GST versus the earlier GST. Modi Ji's 2017 GST taxed soap and shampoos at 18%. He taxed your health insurance premium, term insurance premium at 28%, school books, pencils, crayons charged at 12%, even roti at 5% and paratha at 18%. Why I don't know?
Dr. Akashdeep Muni, may I just point out one small fact, and I'm quoting Mr. Jairam Ramesh in 2017. He has been quoted as saying, the former Prime Minister, Mr. Singh, advised me not to move my amendment because it will disturb the fine consensus that has been arrived in the GST Council. If a consensus could be built in 2017, then surely that consensus could have been built by the earlier regime as well.
Sir, you cannot put just one quote here and there. They started...
There was no consensus in 2017. Is that factually wrong? No. Dr. Muni, was there a consensus in 2017 or not?
I am asking... No.
I am asking you a question. Please answer that.
2010. Sir, you cannot force me for one particular statement.
Because you are saying that this was not done because of some kind of objection. The simple question to you is this, the counter is that if there's a consensus that has been built by this government, why was the consensus not built on not just the GST? There are other issues on which consensus was built by the UPA government. Why not on the GST if it was so important?
Because the BJP was blocking it from 2010 onwards. To multiple times it was introduced in the parliament. They blocked it, and I'm just if you want I can quote Arun Jaitley ji, who on the floor of the house they said that we are against the GST on the floor of parliament. Now if you are
Dr. Muni, the job of the government is to build consensus, but I don't want to get stuck on this debating point. RP Singh, I want you to respond to the point being made here by Mr. Muni. He says the BJP didn't allow GST to be passed. Otherwise, it could have been done during the UPA regime itself. Top leaders in the current regime who have served as ministers and top leaders were the ones blocking the GST, speaking out openly against the GST then. Your response, Mr. RP Singh.
Madhav, thank you to Mr. Muni for accepting that my leadership is smarter and cleverer than their leadership, and they could get the opposition on board and then get everything get rolling, whether it was 2017 or whether it's 2025. Things are rolling now. And then, Mr. Muni, why are you against anything which is good for nation? And then you have people, your party or the party you have alliance with. I never interrupt you. Please hold on. You have people whom you are alliance with. Mr. Sukhu is on record welcoming it. He was the first one to welcome it. He said it's the most welcoming step. And I am also saying, and everyone in the country is saying that it has transformed it will transform the country. From 1991, the first step which was taken by Mr. Narasimha Rao, and then I am accepting Manmohan Singh Alwani and Manmohan Singh, you are part of the team. But after that, this is the step which will transform the country. And also, happy Diwali and happy Navratri to all your viewers.
Okay. Dr. Fuad Harim, I'd like you to come in on this because the decision was arrived at consensus as far as the GST Council or at the same time last night. But yet you have several voices now coming out and complaining. You have state government saying our share in revenue will drop. But if this is a decision that has been taken by consensus, saying one thing inside the GST Council and then coming out and complaining later does not really add up.
Well, Madhavan, you have to understand that the devil lies in the detail. And if you look at the broad aspects of what GST has done since 31st of September 2017, is that it has taxed the people of India absolutely improperly. And this overtaxation is somehow very, very clear. Now, the government has to take some steps, and the government has taken some steps, which essentially, if you go into the details, is not going to benefit the people that much, especially if you look at drug prices. Now, if you look at drug prices, for example, on the 22nd of September, drug prices, the GST is supposed to go down from 12% to 5%. But in April 2026, the companies have been allowed to increase the average price of drugs by 10%. So, you know, whatever 7% reduction you're giving in terms of GST is going to evaporate come 1st of April 2026. Now, you know, the government has to be proactive on other fronts also. And GST is not the only part which is going to impact drug prices across the board. Now, having said that, one has to keep in mind that the GST...
Surely this would have been discussed in the council meeting, sir.
was clearly saying that Narendra Modi wants to... Once again?
I'm saying surely all of these issues would have been discussed in the council meeting.
I didn't hear that comment, but anyway. Well, drug prices are going to affect the people of India. So the what you call the reduction of drug GST on drug prices should have gone down to 0%, and the government should have taken a decision that they are going to again reinvent the DPCO, the Drug Price Control Order, which Narendra Modi has diluted significantly. Only 20% of drugs are within the DPCO, and 50 years of the Hati Committee, where almost 80% of drugs were under DPCO. So Narendra Modi is very clear in terms of drugs. If we look at one sector very, very minutely, that he doesn't want the government to lose revenue. At the same time, he wants profits of the great pharmaceutical lobby in India to continue.
Okay.
So prices are going to keep on increasing for...
well, sir, if the tax slabs have been slashed, and I don't know what the exact objection is, but respond to this. Karan Verma, Dr. Fuad Aleem says that the government wants the pharma companies to continue profiteering. So while the tax slabs may have been reduced, when it comes to critical drugs, etc., they should have been further dropped to 0% is his argument. Your response to that?
Well, that is precisely what has happened, Madhav. I don't know what Dr. Aleem is looking at. 33 life-saving drugs will have 0% GST. Whether it was 12 or whatever it was, it has been reduced, slashed to 0. 33 life-saving disease drugs. Secondly, the other medicines besides these 33 which are reduced to 0 have been slashed from 12 to 5%. Even the medical apparatus and other things, that has been slashed from 12 to 5%. So that is as far as life-saving drugs. In fact, their biggest achievement today is that those 33 life-saving drugs are at 0% GST. It's going to be a game changer. Now, Madhav, I want to respond to a larger point that Mr. Muni made. You know, we are sick and tired of this sob story of the Congress that we had thought of Aadhaar, we had thought of GST. Well, you had thought of it, but God lies in the details. You never got down to implementing anything. And I'll give you an example, Madhav. When they were planning to bring GST, by the way, Kelkar Committee report came in 2004. For 10 years, they were sleeping. But when they brought about, they had no plan about GST compensation. The plan that BJP had was from 2017 to 2022, 14% rise would be compensated to each and every state, and they've lived up to that. Similarly, in Aadhaar-based LPG direct benefit transfer, if you remember, they had to roll back in 2014 because they did not have adequate bank penetration. That is what you do. Half-baked policies which fail in implementation, and then you want credit for that. Today you must admit that you failed to bring GST, and the BJP has not only brought GST 1, they've implemented the second GST, which is going to usher in economic independence in a lot of ways and increase consumption.
Okay. Respond to that. Akashdeep Muni, quick response, please.
Madhavji, please give me some time. You don't interrupt others. Kindly don't interrupt me this time. That's my humble request. Now,
sir, speak to the facts, and of course respond to the issues that are being raised. So the problem is I ask you something and then you go into something else. Let's stick to the issue at hand that's being debated, please.
Viewers, please see. Pre-GST VAT on daily usage items, pre-GST VAT on daily usage item, toothpaste, soap, hair oil was 4%. It was increased to 18% GST. Life-saving drugs, what Karan Verma is talking about, insulin. पहले वैट 0% लगता था, इन्होंने जीएसटी लगवाया 5% का. याद रखिएगा, यही जीएसटी लगा था 2017 में. In 2017, Modi ji defended the multi-slab system, calling for simplification, criticizing Congress push for a capped or single rate. By 2025, he celebrates the reduction of fuel slabs. Now, Piyush Goyal, previously he considered the multi-slab system to be a landmark. Today, he is saying that removing multi-slabs is the biggest reform. This hypocrisy is seen by people. The blunder is that 8 years ago, a blunder was done, which is being undone because of sluggish growth, rising household debt, falling household savings, and Modi ji.
Okay, the counter to that is that pre-GST. One second. Just one by one. All right. Okay, RP Singh, respond. RP Singh, respond.
No, 7.5% is a certain sure. He needs some better glasses.
And let me add to that. In fact, let me bring in Anmol Pawar. Anmol Pawar, pre-GST, this is what the BJP is saying, and I'm quoting that 17 different taxes and 13 cesses were there, leaving ordinary citizens paying 27% on soaps, 31% on chocolates, 29% on cement, and even double-digit rates on medicines. This is what was there during the Congress regime, which has now been simplified into lower slabs and lesser number of slabs. Isn't this something that the Aam Aadmi Party, which speaks for the interest of the Aam Aadmi, would actually be welcoming?
Madhavji, good evening. Madhavji, any tax reform which helps the Aam Aadmi of this country, that makes life easier for the common citizens, will always be welcomed by us. From the very beginning, we have been asking for simplification of tax laws and rationalization of tax slabs. 8 years, countless amendments, endless experiments, yet the central government failed to implement the GST properly. And the consequence was that states suffered losses worth lakhs of crores. In 2017, when the GST was implemented, centers assured the states that they would pay compensation cess in case states suffered any loss. But since 2022, Punjab has not received the compensation cess. Secondly, Punjab is facing worst floods in the last 5 decades, 1,400 villages submerged, 25 lakh people affected, yet the central government has not released 60,000 crores, which is due of the Punjab government. No tweet from the Prime Minister, no assurance of financial aid. He has time to finance Taliban, to pay aid to Taliban, but not for the people of Punjab. That is very disheartening.
Okay.
आज ऐसी स्थिति है पंजाब में कि पूरे देश को, सब राजनीतिक दल को राजनीति से ऊपर उठ के उस पंजाब की मदद करनी चाहिए जहां का जवान अपनी जान न्यौछावर करने से पहले.
Okay. RP Singh wants to respond to you on that. No, certainly the situation in Punjab is tragic. Unfortunate that rain has come in. Yeah, unfortunate that the rains have played havoc in many states of India, particularly North India. Himachal is another state, and other various states, even Gurgaon and Delhi, we've seen the effect of the floods, perhaps not as much as Punjab. But RP Singh, quick response to that.
Well, Mr. Aman, where is Bhagwant Man? Well, I have not seen him in the last 4 days on any media, on any social media or any other media also. Where is the man? Man in action is sleeping. Prime Minister, the moment he landed up, he spoke to Bhagwant Man and immediately support was given. Army, BSF, NDRF, Air Force are working on ground. The choppers of Air Force are saving people. And moment this process complete, the help is on the way for all the states. Punjab, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Jammu Kashmir. I mean, that is why you have to politicize. I appreciate your concern about Punjab because I'm a Sikh. And Punjab has always given the.
I just want to bring this back.
Country should stand with the Punjab.
I just want to bring this back. I just want to bring this back to the subject at hand. The subject at hand really is, of course, ultimately this GST reform and the impact that it has on ground. As important as, of course, the floods are as an issue, certainly this is a very, very serious issue as well. But let me come out and talk about what really has been alleged. Now, we are seeing opposition political parties, Dr. Fuad Halim, talk about how MSMEs are suffering under GST. The point is that similar VAT regimes and similar chaotic tax regimes existed in previous regimes as well. And that is now being simplified. Why should this not be, in that sense, welcome as a larger measure which is expected to boost consumption and boost the economical growth of our country, the GDP growth of our country?
No, it's absolutely welcome that if you have a simplified tax structure, that was the moot idea of GST. And the processes that were supposed to be implemented were not supposed to be so cumbersome that the small and medium scale industries would be taken out of the competitive field. But we've seen that the way that the GST was implemented, many small players had to wind up business and close shop because of the entire processes and the official work that needs to be done to keep the GST up to date. So that's a problem of the GST structure itself. We've not seen any positive indication from the government or from the GST Council as to how to simplify those things which actually impact the small player in the market who would like to be part of the GST system and still continue doing his business. Having said that, one has to keep in mind that the GST system that is being implemented by the GST Council a few days ago is clearly saying that the Indian population were overtaxed. You know, it's a candid admission when they are going to reduce the taxation, what you call slabs, in various sectors. It's a candid admission. Since 2017, they've been overtaxing the people of India.
Okay. You've been overtaxing the people of India. That's the question coming in from Dr. Fuad Halim. But Karan Verma, I want you to answer this point because P. Chidambaram comes out to say, and he's asking whether these GST reforms are coming out because of the tariffs announced by President Trump. On the other hand, you have another question coming from Pawan Khera, who says that the government has merely followed Rahul Gandhi's long-standing advice. Your response? to these 2 points being raised by opposition?
So first, I'll answer the Rahul Gandhi bit. The Congress manifesto, page 31, point number 6. The Congress's manifesto for the Lok Sabha elections, it states that we want one uniform tax in GST. That is what they've asked for. And Rahul Gandhi's been on record. As in, a Mercedes would be taxed the same way as milk would be taxed. So that was Rahul Gandhi's grandiose plan for GST. He wanted one uniform tax. That was never going to happen. That was a pipe dream. Secondly, Madhav, to your question about the Trump tariffs and other things. Arun Jaitley was on record when the GST was launched that we are going to have a series of reforms and it's going to be a work in progress. Our friend Dr. Halim just said that the people were taxed. Of course they were taxed, brutally taxed before 2014 especially. I'll give you an example. R&R, which is the revenue neutral rate, which is a sum total of what kind of tax people are going through, it was close to 25% before 2014. After GST, it came down to 11.9%. That is the kind of difference we came. And after this reform, of course that's going to come down less. These reforms were perhaps delayed because of COVID and other things that happened. Otherwise, they could have happened 1 or 2 years back. So I don't think this has much to do with Trump tariffs. But having said that, this is welcome because if there was any blip that had come because of Trump tariffs or that is forecasted, that will be made up for the consumption we have within our country. It will encourage demand. That's what we want.
Well, the top experts are not putting a wager on what numbers this will actually impact on, or even the number that the Trump tariff will actually impact on as far as the Indian economy is concerned, because there is so much uncertainty surrounding how all of this will actually work on ground. We'll have to leave it there. R.P. Singh, Karan Verma, Dr. Fuad Halim, as well as Dr. Advocate Anmol Pawar, Dr. Akash Muni, thanks so much for joining us on the show this evening.